Welcome back. I'm Lew White, the heretic. I oppose teaching authorities because they're ruling over the masses, and it might be Christian, it might be a denomination of Catholicism, or it might be the Orthodox, whatever. But I do publish something called the Orthodox Jewish Life Calendar, and it's available right now on the Torah Zone website. And the errors that are in here are very few comparatively to other calendars. Anyway, I was just looking at next year, and when the Passover comes and the dates are set, they don't even mention Bikurim. They usually do. Bikurim is the day that Yahusha resurrected, but they usually get it wrong because they don't know what they're doing. They don't have the spirit of Yahusha in them, but they do struggle to get to the truth. And most of the dates are very accurate. And I'm not condemning anybody. I'm just, saying, there are errors because it's made by human beings that do not have the spirit of Yahusha in them. And by the way, the spirit of Yahusha is the Ruach HaKodesh. And there's only one Ruach HaKodesh, or Holy Spirit, the Catholics call him. Actually, the Catholics call him the Holy Ghost. There's only one Ruach HaKodesh, set-apart spirit. And any universe that there might be out there that exists in whatever form or shape is endless and boundless. And the Ruach HaKodesh is bigger than the infinity that you see above you, wherever you happen to be. The Ruach HaKodesh is only one, and there's only one. There's not two Ruach HaKodeshes. It's Yahusha. That's what we call him because he bought us with his own blood. His name is Yahuwah, but as our deliverer, the suffix Shah is from Yasha, which means deliver. And we call him Yahusha. This is the calendar. You can order one at TorahZone.net, and it comes with, accompanying it is a detailed study on the festivals and the redemption plan, and it's printed on one sheet of paper, and we'll enclose a printed copy of this with each calendar. Now, you can also download these dates for the next spring, not this spring. This spring we're out of these calendars for the 2024 Roman year, but we are in supply right now we only have 300 of these. And when they're gone, these calendars. But these will always be here. But anyway, these are study guides for what these festivals represent. There's a Moedim, or an appointed time, called the Sabbath, which is the seventh day of each week. And at Uikra, or Leviticus 23, he restarts it by saying, and these are my Sabbaths. And those are the high days, the high Sabbaths, that we call Passover, Bikurim, or First Fruits, which is the day he resurrected. And it's always on the first day of the week, during Matzah. Matzah, some of you may not know what that is. It means unleavened bread. And the unleavened bread is what we are becoming. It's the leaven of men's teachings that has to be removed, as well as the leavened bread. But anyway, all the festivals are in this download that's free at TorahZone.net. The download is free at TorahZone.net under PDF downloads. It's a little drop-down bar at the top in the center. And the first page is right there presenting it to you. I don't know if you can read that, but it's the appointed times. And it's Yahusha's redemption plan. They're in stock now for next year. Oh, and what else is happening next year? Ooh, well, all Christianity is going to be celebrating something that you probably have not heard about yet, but it's the Nicene Council. In 325 CE, Constantine called over 200 elders to Nicaea to hammer out the new universal belief called Catholicism. And it was the earthquake that we have not yet recovered from. The whole world is suffering from this thing. The issue of the Trinity was discussed and many other topics. And basically, all these teachers, that studied basically paganism, were called from Alexandria, Egypt, to Nicaea. And a whole lot of nonsense got started there. And Christianity, whatever form it it has inherited this. And next year, in this month, I'm recording this in the 6th Roman month. And of course, it's not really the 6th month of the year, because the year starts in the springtime. That's when summer begins. But it's all mixed up. And that's why I said I'm a heretic. The Orthodox, whatever, don't like people that tell people the truth, because they want to control you and what you hear and what you're taught, and control the teachers by ordination, given orders by their authority. And Yahushua was asked that same question by the Pharisees: how can you be doing this? Who gave you the authority to teach these things? They didn't, and they were the teaching controllers. They controlled doctrines. The truth is in the inspired word. This is where you find truth. You don't look up in the sky to find truth, and you don't look for miracles to find truth. You look in the Scriptures, the inspired word. And this is a translation, and I hope it's accurate. I believe it to be, but it's not inspired because the prophets didn't write this book. It was translated from their writings as accurately as possible into English. So if you're reading Greek or Latin or English or German or Spanish, that's not written by a prophet. It's written by a human being, trying his best to do the translation, the meaning. But when you don't have the Spirit of Yahushua living in you, the Ruach HaKodesh, that inhabits infinity, you can't go anywhere without being inside his domain. If you're obedient to his commandments, and you have his Spirit dwelling in you, and you're not in rebellion and living lawlessly, your translation would be far superior to someone who did not obey his commandments, such as the Anglican Catholics. They were following, the Anglican Catholic teaching authority. The only teaching authority we should have is the Ruach HaKodesh, and that's the Spirit of Yahushua. That's our teaching authority. Now, I'm going to read to you something that is going to be related to this study on our pig's food. Now, this is what Yahuwah wrote to the prophet Yashayahu. The world calls him Isaiah. In chapter 66, starting around 14, verse 14. And you shall see, and your heart shall rejoice, and your bones flourish as tender grass. And the hand of Yahuwah shall be known to his servants, and his displeasure to his enemies. For look, Yahuwah comes with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his displeasure with burning, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword Yahuwah shall judge all flesh, and the slain of Yahuwah shall be many. Those who set themselves apart and cleanse themselves in the gardens, following after one in the midst, who eat the flesh of pigs, and the abomination and the mouse are snatched away together, declares Yahuwah. And I, because of their works and their imaginations, am coming to gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my esteem. What was that about pigs? Abomination, stuff like that. Yahuwah doesn't change. That's the main point, and it's good that he does not change. If he says something is not to be touched, then you're certainly not supposed to eat it either. The carcasses of pigs and other unclean animals, when they're dead, are not to be touched. You can touch them when they're alive, but you're not supposed to touch them if they're dead. And that never changed. But let me tell you something you may not have ever heard. That myth that you can eat pigs is actually something that is going to get a lot of people burned. And that's just one thing. The rebellion is ongoing in many other areas than food. Food is set apart by the word. You're told in the word of Yahuwah what food is. And you're also told what is not food. Unclean animals, for example, are not food. They're not set apart by the word. Paul talked about that in his letters, his warning letters. If it's not given as food, it's not set apart by the word to be food, then you're not supposed to touch it, let alone eat it. Well, the thing that I'm going to do right now is I'm going to switch this around to show you my screen so that you can actually see it. And we'll get started on this thing. Hold on. All right, here we are. The title of this is Are Pigs Food? Now this is a very short explanation. The pig is an unclean animal, and it is not food set apart by the word of Yahuwah, as we spoke about. All food is clean, but swine and many other unclean animals are not food. We are not even to touch their carcasses. The common idea that people repeat about all food is clean, that originally was a marginal note inserted or made by a monk working on a Greek manuscript of Mark 7 at verse 19. It wasn't in the text. This marginal note was carried into the Anglican Catholic KJV and made popular by pastors and their traditions. The KJV is an English translation of the Latin Vulgate. Now this phrase that you see in parentheses in the English translation, the KJV, is in parentheses because it was inserted and it was not in the original text. That's why it's in parentheses. The KJV places added words that are not in the original manuscripts in parentheses. But the NIV and the NASB and others copied the KJV and did not include the parentheses around the added words. So it looks like Mark recorded the fact that we can eat pigs or unclean animals, all food as it's interpreted. But they don't know. Even if Mark did write it, he would say all food, but he didn't. All food itself is clean, but not things that are not food. They're not given. Anyway, the Latin Vulgate does not have this reference to all food being clean. And it's not in the Greek either. Well, what are we going to do? Read Yashayahu, Isaiah 66, starting at verse 14, and decide whether you want to be there eating pigs at the moment that Yahuwah sends his messengers to purge the earth of the rebellious people and the disobedient. And remember, the last chapter of Revelation at verse 14. It says, "Blessed are those doing his commandments, that they might have the right to the tree of life and to enter into the gates of the city." Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.